I really wanted to get on the stat and eye test debate. I feel like before we start with anything, I want to show you some examples to why the eye test is more reliable than the stats. But before we say anything, we need to look at this. Guys, look at this. Which one is better, player A or player B? And you guys can just have a second just to look up the numbers and we can sit here and compare. All right. So just look at these stats and tell me, if not being subjective, not being anything, because you don't know these players. And I always say that people that use different metrics are having an agenda most of the time. So look at these numbers, tell me which one is better. And you see this, right? This is player A and this is player B. That's why I always say stats can be very misleading, because there was a famous quote, I just heard it. It says, not everything that counts needs to be counted. We know if we watch with our eyes that player B is a better player. But the issue is, a lot of us have agendas. A lot of us have a narrative. A lot of us have a way of watching football that is skewed. That's why you see, for me, this guy will go down as one of the greatest midfielder we ever had in the game. And you can say, well, he's a holding midfielder. Fair enough. We can call him holding midfielder. But he, in a team with Xavi, Iniesta, Neymar, Messi, Suarez, David Villa, Pedro, he would never get the stats or the GAs, anything like that. And that's why stats can be misleading. But also, our eye test can be misleading. Because why? Because the way we watch football is through pure highlights. We watch it throughout a 3-minute YouTube video and understand football out of nowhere. And it's very hard to judge players, because if you don't have the time or you can't sit here and watch every game, it's hard. But if you watch football, if you know football is what football is, and if you're not biased, you understand why this guy is great. This guy is not great because of stats. This guy is not great because of his defensive numbers. It's something that cannot be counted. That's why I said not everything that counts can be counted. Even here, you see what Vicente Del Bosque said about Sergio Busquets. You watch the game, you don't see Busquets. But if you watch Busquets, you see the whole game. And even another example, you see here Enzo Fernandez, who I would argue has not been our best midfielder this season, compared to Rice, right? Compared to Rice. Look at their numbers. You can just look it up. You can see Enzo Fernandez has superior numbers. If we're talking just through numbers, Enzo Fernandez is a better player. But we know with our eyes, we watch Rice. We know what he's all about. And Rice is a better player. And that's why I would always say the eye test is more reliable. Now, as that is said, we know stats don't lie. We know what stats is. And even going throughout the years, in the next 10, 20, 30 years, you see players like with this performance, like Neymar, putting up performance like this. You see him doing these things, and you just watch the game, you're just like, he was the best player. But in due time, in 10, 20, 30 years, we will not remember this performance. We will not remember how well he played. We will not remember what he did on the pitch. But what we will remember is the numbers, because the numbers don't lie, right? But the numbers can cheat, in my opinion. The numbers is not a real reflectiveness of what the real football is. And you see performances without goals or assists. You see performance without the best underlying numbers. And still, they can be elite performances. They can be some of the best performances. And even the eye test sometimes can mislead you. Because what this guy did, right? He was a special player. But you will never see him have highlights like Neymar. You will never see him have highlights like Messi or Ronaldo or like the top midfielders of this generation. You will never see him, because Zizou, the highlight reels, yes, there is some, but in terms of his whole game, Zizou is a good example. His game was not about that. He was a complete midfielder. And for me, I always judge on two metrics. It's if they step up on the biggest occasions and how they play on the eye. Because on the eye is going to tell you a lot more than stats will. And if you look football through an objective lens, just like 11v11 players who are playing well, you can quickly see it. It's very easy to spot it. And it's just about having a pure footballing eye without having a narrative agenda or hate or love relationship. But that's what football does to us.